I want to start my talk off, first of all, talking about fatherhood. Although I work in the youth justice system, I see through the eyes of a father. I've got a 14-year-old. I've got a 9-year-old Bailey. She's sitting right over there. Oh, Bailey girl. And then I've got the 2-year-old. Can you see the 2-year-old? Any of you ever seen Bernie Mac, Kings of Comedy? Bernie Mac had it right. The 2-year-old runs the house. And there's no place too high for him to get those cookies. But seeing through the eyes of a father helps me to have tremendous amount of compassion, grace, mercy, but most importantly, unconditional love for every single youth that I have the opportunity to work with. Also, I just celebrated 13 years of marriage with my wife, so hey. So family, just like a juvenile court, we work with families. And there are so many things that we have to do every single day. And I feel like my job is not a job, it's actually a calling. And as I do this work, my compassion has to move mountains, I feel like. But most importantly, I want to talk to you a little bit about how we've gotten where we are. In 2011, we admitted over 5,000 youth in our detention facility. And believe me or not, we had a lot of changes that we had to do in order to make things happen to where we currently are, and that is systemic change. So as I talk about this, I want to talk about my role when I was a counselor. You heard my bio. I don't want to go through it all over again, but I've worked in community mental health. I actually sat inside of homes, and I saw a lot. But I want to talk about my role when I was a counselor. I'm currently the chief probation officer, but I worked in the detention facility for 3.5 years. But I want to go back and talk about my time as a counselor. When I was in this role, I had a family show up for a pretrial hearing at 9 a.m. And when they came in, everyone was sweating. I mean, it was October like it is now with your blankets on, they were sweating. And the first thing that came to mind, why in the world are they drenched? Well, come to find out when I started talking to the family, they actually walked 1 hour and 30 minutes to our court. Very long walk. They talked about various topics so that she can keep her kids engaged. She had a 12-year-old and an 11-year-old girl. And when they came into my office, one question that I normally ask most of the families that I work with, if you can describe yourself in one word, what would it be? The 12-year-old girl said, determined. Then I looked at the 11-year-old brother. He said, a leader. Now think about that for a minute. Most of the kids that I was interviewing in my office talked about being a thug, a hustler, and a lot of other negative things that how they saw themselves. But these kids made me want to listen to what their mom was planting into them. So as I talked with the mom, I discovered that these kids were going door to door trying to solicit money so that they can make it to their homecoming, their middle school homecoming. How many of you ever been to homecoming before? I know you were showing out, had all your nice attire on, but these kids didn't have money. In fact, maybe along the way as they were getting their money, some other youth saw them, and these kids stopped to get food after they raised their money, and these kids tried to rob them and take their money from them. And at that point, the business establishment called law enforcement, and they cited everyone with disorderly conduct. Well, that's why they were sitting before me. I dismissed their case, ready to send them on their way. Then all of a sudden, scrounged some dollars together to get them back home by bus. But then the mother said, as she was walking out of my office, hold up. My kids only have one school uniform apiece, and I almost fell through the floor because these were kids who had great grades, well-mannered, respectful. And then I started searching for ways to get them the resources that they desperately needed, and I started hitting the wall of red tape. They needed additional applications filled out. Some of the agencies said, hey, we need to do our own assessment. And I was like, no, they need it now. And of course, at the court, we always talk. So as I started talking to my coworkers, they listened. And then my wife listened. And we started getting the school uniforms and the winter coats. And then we got the family everything that they needed. And the local newspaper printed it on the front page of the paper. Whew. Resources started pouring in. I saw whites, blacks, Hispanic, all kind of people coming in to support this family. I think they couldn't even get inside of their one-bedroom apartment. They had that many resources because the community came rushing in. It showed me that change was possible and that we can impact lives when we come together. In addition, it showed me the power of community. It showed me what compassion can do, what love can do. And most importantly, it showed me that Memphis is special. Can I get a little clap right there? But here's the side that wasn't so beautiful. It also showed me that systemic change was necessary. When I start talking about systemic change, we needed systemic change for law enforcement, the school system. You've heard of the school to prison pipeline. But it also showed me that we had work to do in the youth justice system as well. In addition, we went into these phases. Phase 1 was building partnerships and training our staff. We had to train our staff continuously on racial and ethnic disparities and trauma-informed practices. It took leadership that saw it, that said, hey, you know what? I'm going to come into this office and we've got to see differently and stop asking what's wrong with you, but started saying what happened to you. I'm going to give some love. And as we started this process, and sometimes staff got mad at us because, yes, we were in another training, but they needed to get this embedded into their hearts to see differently, to see people and not numbers. In addition, we had to get very serious on phase 2. That is data collection and data analysis. We tracked everything. Oh, so I saw a data person right over there. And our IT department, we have a DMC research specialist, and she's amazing. Big shout out to you, Dr. Amy. This work took data analysis. It took us partnering with the local DA's office. It took us partnering with law enforcement. It took us partnering with local schools and universities and a lot of community agencies that have poured inside of us. But most importantly, we had to bring in national child service organizations that saw things differently than what we did. They were able to sit us down, and we had to do a whole lot of listening. Amen, Pam? And as we made these changes, we had to map resources. We have a zip code-based resource directory that will help us know where all of our community agencies are, but not only know, but connect our families to those services. Then we had to get involved in the trauma responsiveness. And this is where the meat of our work is at. We strategically placed a youth service officer at one of our Memphis Police Department locations, precincts, that had the highest level of youth delinquency. So what is the problem? I think you already know the problem. Just this month alone in October, we've seen school shootings. We've seen Kroger getting shot up. But recently, one of the darkest moments, we actually saw a funeral get shot up, and someone died. And these are acts done by youth. Currently, we have about 16 youth in our detention facility that have a murder-related charge. We have about 22 youth who are charged with carjacking, and we have to work with those youth and families. Aggravated robberies. But as we have moved into the realm of the community, There are 9 points of contact that I want to educate you about. Arrest, referral to our court, diversion. Number 4 is secure detention. 5 is a case being petitioning before a court, before a judge. 6 is a judge making a decision. We call it adjudication. 7 is probation. 8 is a youth being placed in our Department of Children's Services in a secure facility. And 9, a youth being transferred as an adult. When I tell you we had to move upstream before number 1, we placed an officer at the police precinct to work with those community agencies and integrate ourselves with the DA's office and community agencies and law enforcement. And we stopped pointing fingers at one another. And we started problem solving and getting kids connected to mental health services, mentorship, thank you, family-related services, jobs. But as I talk about, can you see the picture up there? Restorative practices and restorative results. Restorative results are positioning ourselves as a community as feet washers. Seeing kids, loving on them, touching them. On this day, I washed over 300 feet. Big love, yes. We gave them socks and a new pair of shoes. And some of those feet, they didn't smell too good. We've partnered with one of our local schools, and we get kids suits and make them see themselves a whole different way. And it's amazing what happens when these kids put on suits and they pull up their pants. And it's a beautiful thing to see them have this dignity and an incredible joy as they transition. And on this day, the principal was almost a little scared to even ask me this. He said, "Hey, I need you to come speak to my school." And I was like, all right, cool. I'll come. He said, "But it's on Sunday." I was like, all right, cool. But why are you having Sunday school? That's for church, isn't it? He was like, "No. We're going to bring all of our failing students into the cafeteria. We're going to pick them up. And not only pick them up, but we're going to have wings and, we love some chicken in Memphis. We're going to have cookies. We're going to have PlayStation, Xbox. But we're also going to watch the Super Bowl together once they get done with tutoring." Come on, give me some love for that. But look at the photo. If you look at the photo, you will see us wrapped up in connection, touching each other. I know this is prior to COVID, by the way. But this was a major act of love. And as you think about this, look at our data. In 2011, 5,251 youth admitted into our detention facility. 2019, a 81% decrease of youth being admitted. 2020, we knocked it out the park, 88% decrease of youth being admitted to our detention facility. And from 2018 to 2021, we diverted over 5,000 youth before they even touched law enforcement. But as you think about this, are you listening? Are you listening to the cries of our community? Listening takes empathy and understanding. It takes an incredible amount of love for your neighbor. When was the last time you listened to someone's story and were able to make a change? Thank you so much, Memphis. Grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much.